Hello everyone, just a quick word from your friendly editor/husband. For all of you who listen to So I'm Watching This Show and own an Android device, do me a favor. Go to the Google Play Store and download the Podcast Republic app. It's a fantastic app that allows you to get all of your favorite podcasts directly on your Android devices. I use the app and love it. I can search for the podcasts I want to listen to, select them as favorites, and have them all just a click away. Make sure you set So I'm Watching the Show as a favorite so you don't miss any new episodes. Again, the app is Podcast Republic, available on your Android device. Thanks!
I'm furious. I am livid.
Did we want to do any build-up at all, or is this just going to be like a segment?
It's all I can think of.
Okay.
We don't have plans for this coverage yet. We are watching The Society on Netflix.
Yes.
And we just put it on as something to watch. And we were like an episode or two in, and I was like, do you think we'd want to cover this? And you're like, well, we could just talk about when it's over. And then after this third episode, I was like, I feel like I'm going to have things to say as we're doing it.
Along the way.
We don't know what we're going to do, but I'd rather have it and not need it than wish we had done it, because you can only watch something first.
Yeah.
The first time once. So we're just going to go ahead and record. As of now, our plan is to just check in intermittently. So probably like 3 times throughout the season. But as the episodes go, we'll see how we feel.
Yep.
Because we didn't plan on covering this. I did not take notes, so I know maybe 3 characters' names.
I've got a little bit better handle on it.
You're great with that.
We'll do what we can.
Yeah, you and Will are great with that, where it's like, I remember we watched we'd seen like an episode and a half of Stranger Things, and Will was like, I got a lock.
Yeah.
I obviously know the characters when I see them, and a lot of times when I hear them talking about other characters, I have a sense of who they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But I just haven't committed things to memory. And this is a cast.
There's a lot of kids. Yeah.
Yeah. So did you want to say anything in general overall about your thoughts about it, or?
I am really enjoying it. I think it's, the latest in a long line of products, I guess, that just reassert the fact that most dudes are total garbage. If given the opportunity, most dudes will default to just trash.
I have things to say about all of that. Going into this, I am here solely for and expect nothing but a character drama. Okay. I expect no answers. I've learned the hard way.
Yeah.
To, from Lost to Under the Dome, it's really difficult.
Leading up until tonight when we're about to watch the Game of Thrones finale.
Exactly. I expect nothing from it. For me, I'm more interested in the journey. Yeah. And so far, 3 episodes in, I am fairly impressed. They're hitting all the beats you think they would. Mm-hmm. We haven't had any raping yet. I feel like it's guaranteed. And also, I will say this is the type of story where it's a subject matter that's going to get explored. And, we're pushing the boundaries with storytelling at this point in society. There's a lot of, kind of Final Frontier type stories being told. Mm-hmm. And so I think that, the prevalence of rape in storytelling right now, it's a mixed bag, but I feel like I'm frequently sort of defending stories for doing it. And I feel like a lot of times the stuff we're watching, it does sort of work. We're not there yet, so there's really no point in having...
Well, no, I was going to say, I think we've only really been defending The Magicians recently.
That's true. That's actually very true.
And I think that's because it did it in a really nuanced and sensitive way.
Arcing over 4 seasons.
Yeah. And while I am really enjoying The Society, I have a feeling if it happens, it will not be dealt with in such a nuanced way. But I'm gonna keep my mind open.
I read something that gave me hope.
Okay, all right.
As a matter of fact, the reason why I turned this on was a BuzzFeed article that I saw. And one of the things they said was that it handles a lot of these subject matters in really interesting ways. So
okay, all right.
I will say the dudes being garbage, I completely agree. And it's only...
There are like 2 exceptions.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time. But in their defense, in defense of the dudes, we have been historically and are currently still in a society that engineers this behavior.
No, totally.
From a young age. So...
Well, and these are also wealthy boys for the most part.
They're in Connecticut. And there are several layers happening in this show. For starters, being that they are, in fact, teenagers.
Yeah.
It makes for an odd watch sometimes because, you know, the older I've gotten, I remember being a teenager and being like, I'm 17, I can do all this shit. And now that I'm, you know, in my 30s, I'm kind of like, that's too young. So,
yeah, agreed.
But, you know, biologically, these people are mature.
Yeah.
And it's also realistic given the scenarios that they would, I mean, if they're not adults, but in this experiment, for all intents and purposes, they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's something that I don't know what we're dealing with, because I did say experiment, and that was my current theory, is that this is some form of simulation.
Yeah, I am really waiting on bated breath to find out how supernatural this is going to get.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it doesn't, it's fine. If this is some kind of simulation or something like that, then whatever. But there have been just a couple things sprinkled through that make me feel like there's something supernatural at play.
Well, and the kids themselves, and 2 of the smarter kids, have already floated the possibility of an alternate Earth.
Right.
So they could even be in an alternate solar system.
Yeah. Which I don't know if it's going to go that far, but it's like an interesting notion to play with.
Well, it's giving me Wicked Wayward Pines vibes, which was actually pretty decent. Do you remember? I told you what the ending of that was. Do you remember?
I don't.
Okay, then I'm not going to mention it now.
Okay.
It was a decent reveal, I will say. I did not see it coming, and I was excited by it. It was kind of M. Night Shyamalan's first... It was 2015, I think. Okay. But I think the show filmed in 2014. Fox sat on it for a while before they aired it. And so a lot of people were crapping on it because it was M. Night Shyamalan, and then it ended up being pretty decent. But... yeah, that's sort of what I'm expecting from this, but I'm trying to, we watched 3 episodes, so I'm trying to think of what all exactly I'm trying to say, but in case, you know, you're listening to this and you don't know what it is the story of a group of teenagers who struggle to survive after they're mysteriously transported to a facsimile of their hometown with no trace of their parents.
Well, that seems to tell us something.
I mean, it's the description on Wikipedia.
Yeah, but that kind of does give away that it's not their actual town.
You know, I knew that information going into it, so okay. I kind of read it with a grain of salt. I don't know. Okay. I didn't think it was their town because of the way that the forest was sort of barricading them in. Okay.
Oh my god, this guy has done so many shows that I like. Sorry, that was not important.
No.
He was the guy, his name is Christopher Kaiser. There's this show that my mom used to watch way a long time ago. It was only on from 91 to 94. It was called Sisters, and Swoozie Kurtz was in it. And Stila Ward, and he was like a writer on that. And I just was going to his page and I saw it, and he did Party at 5 also. I'm excited. Sorry. Keep going.
So... you know, there's actually a lot happening now that I'm really thinking about it. There was an ominous smell in the pilot episode, and it had been dealt with, and then it came back, and at one point, someone was demanding money for the removal of it. Mm-hmm. It was weird, and so they were being shipped to a camp. They're like, and it's mostly I feel like it's the juniors and seniors.
Yeah, it was like 16 and over.
Okay. So it was just sort of the 16, 17, and 18-year-olds were sent off, and the road was washed out, and so the bus just turned around, up to and including this, like, unseen bus driver. We heard him, but we never saw him.
Yeah.
And he was like, road's washed out, kids, you're back home. And they all get off the bus, and the buses leave. And that was important to me, that the buses went somewhere. So that's how they end up here. And everything so far works within the town. Like the lights, the water, their cell phones can call each other, but they don't have the internet. They don't have, access to anything outside of this town.
Yeah.
It's very odd. And so they're trying to move forward the only way you can. And
well, some of them are trying to move forward and some of them are just trying to have a party.
Yeah, I don't know, because this is where we get back to the guys, and I started to be annoyed by this because I myself am pretty altruistic, and I feel like people are going to be reasonable. Mm-hmm. And then for just a moment, I imagined these boys from my high school.
Yeah, no.
And I honestly would rather die than try to deal with them. So... and it gives me great pleasure to say that almost all of them suck and are losers now. That's not a surprise, but yeah, it is frustrating. We have several characters on, varying degrees of likability, and actually I'll go ahead and say they're being a little bit cavalier with so far. There aren't really any characters that are outright fan favorites. I mean, maybe Sam.
Yeah, I like Sam and Becca, the other girl from Blockers.
Mm-hmm.
And
who is pregnant, and we don't know who the father is.
I am suspecting she was assaulted because she told Sam never to ask her who it was again.
Okay.
So I like the two of them a lot. I'm with you on Kelly. I think she's got an arc coming. And then I do like Grizz. And then that's about the end of it. And also, I would never have thought in my life that I would long for more blonde-haired men, but I can't tell 90% of these dudes apart. I can't tell. They're all just brown-haired jock dudes. It's bizarre.
Mean, I can imagine I'd be longing for more blonde dudes, but...
well, that makes sense. But for me...
So you don't like Cassandra?
Well, I did.
Okay. I am shocked. I am shocked they killed her. As of now, I think it has to be her sister.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think we haven't gotten all the information yet.
Huh.
But based on her reaction, that's what I feel like.
Interesting.
She was shot, and we see Cassandra the whole time. But it is frustrating, and for the first thing I said, I was like, there's the smart girl who is aptly named Cassandra.
Yep.
And she's the only one who was trying to organize things. She was the only one who was getting any kind of results.
Uh-huh.
And so, of course, we got to take her out because we can't have some bossy
everybody
female.
Weirdly hates her?
Mm-hmm.
Because she was student body president?
Mm-hmm.
I can't decide what's going on with that.
Well, that's something that initially I wished we got more of their life beforehand.
Yeah.
But now I'm I want to know a little bit more about it, and hopefully we'll get that as it goes, because in a weird way, this is a fantasy of mine. I never want to be in pain or uncomfortable, but and I don't want to lose my family and stuff, because I mean, in this scenario, I would have lost Andrew because my brother is 3 years younger than me.
Yeah.
So, and I would be screwed without him in this type of scenario at these ages.
Well, we would have been together.
Would we have,
you liked me when I was 16, 17,
sure.
and 18.
Okay, well, anyways. Yeah, but would you have, gone with, the awful guys at 17?
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah,
I would definitely be L, because I would absolutely have gone with Campbell. There's not a doubt in my mind. You called me out. I accept it.
So
I accept the blame. I apologize. I left you alone.
But the fantasy, you literally did. I'm citing a specific. But
yeah, at this point in our lives, we are Becca and Sam.
Mm-hmm.
At that point in our lives, I would have absolutely gone with Campbell. He's such a dirtbag.
Mm-hmm. But
I'm so sorry.
But yeah, it's and this is kind of where the simulation thing comes into me, because it's I would love to do this as long as it were fantasy, as long as I could tap out of it. You know what I mean? And it is the Lost thing, where it's you put a group of people, you strand them on an island, and then see how the relationships develop, because it's we're getting, a glimpse of a possible thing between Grizz and Sam, and that would have never happened if they weren't stuck in a place together.
Exactly. Also, I will say I'm a little bit more game for the downfall of civilization than you are.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I don't want to have to like go to work anymore. But yeah, I definitely agree.
Well, if everybody would get along,
Right.
and that's the thing that is frustrating watching it, is this is so close to being a utopia. And I was with you too, where I was like, how has Cassandra not established a garden, and a secret garden at that?
Exactly.
But it is tricky. It is really interesting, and it's really tricky. And the show is touching on it. They're not, full diving into it, but they're touching on, because they had the conversation about socialism, can it work? What are the limitations and stuff? Because it's like the issue with stuff like socialism and also communism is that, like, how do you make everything equal and fair if different people's idea of fair is different or equal?
Right.
And it's like, if you're dividing food equally amongst people, I don't like green peppers, so there's no reason in me taking 2 green peppers because that's what's fair.
You're right.
And you're also dealing with I think the number we have is a solid 200 around that. That is
it was like 225 in 220 houses is what she said.
And so that's a decent amount of people. It's not, well, I mean, that's a small town in, like, historically speaking. The average town, and this is just a little fact that I enjoy, but the average person on Facebook has, I think it's 360 friends. And that's because that was the size of most towns.
Like villages, yeah.
Or maybe it was 630.
Well, I am well below average then.
Yeah. But it was like, that's the average size of a village. So that's like, feasibly the number of people that you can keep tabs on.
With.
But yeah, that you can, So, and they're doing, they're doing an interesting job of exploring this, because we also have to juggle the drama, the teen drama and stuff. So I'm pretty impressed. I am still livid about losing Cassandra in a way that I was more preparing myself to go Mad Queen with her. And actually getting to see that arc play out in a reasonable way with enough time to explore it. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, all I'll say is that Rachel Keller is busy. She's on Legion.
That is true.
She's the female lead on Legion.
Yeah, so. She is. Shit. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Yeah. And like I already said, there are a lot of people and a lot of different people in this show. So I'm actually kind of thrilled, to be honest. I started this as kind of like a meh, we'll see. And 3 episodes in, I'm like, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
So
I did want to say, I think Will is the worst of the trash guys because he thinks he's a good guy. The other guys at least know they're trash. Like, I feel like Harry and Campbell know that they're trash. But Will thinks he's like, and the show thinks he's this like romantic lead too, and he's just awful. He's the worst. He's got that foster kid chip on his shoulder, and that's like not appealing to me at all. Unless, like you said, we had seen more of his family life. We heard his foster dad just be kind of a dick to him, but nothing like abusive. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, I'm over it. I don't want that kind of guy, and to put him on this pedestal as a romantic character is really frustrating.
I would love if we explored that it like almost like he's like he has not quite a persecution complex, but like that he thinks like almost into I mean, he's certainly not an incel, because at this point he has girls throwing themselves at him, but
but he's like a good guy TM, It's like, you're not a real good guy. You're like, I'm just so nice. I don't know why the girls don't like me.
I did just love, like, so far, I think they're nailing the gender politics, because it's like the girls had to kind of like stealthily take over.
Yeah.
And they had to do it in a very calm, reasonable manner. They didn't just like charge in. And I do love that they figured out, because this is, accurate, that I love that they figured out that there are more of them than there are of the boys. And, I'm a little surprised this hasn't quite happened, because I would have pledged fealty to the girls immediately. And I'm a little bit surprised that some of the boys haven't quite done that.
Well, there's the couple of them that have girlfriends, they like kind of know the score, where they're like, the girls were like, we're not you have to like follow me or else we're not gonna fool around anymore. And so the couple of guys kind of know the score, but they also know what side their bread is buttered on, and they're like, all right. But no one has, you're right, no one has been like, I pledge allegiance.
It's like, so far we have like Sam and Gideon are the only boys that are with the girls, like in their house and stuff.
Who's Gideon?
Was that not his name?
Gordy.
There you go. I don't know where that came from. And he was kind of giving me creeper vibes too.
He's a hella creeper. He was jacking off in Cassandra's bed.
Was that her bedroom? Okay,
Yes,
I just assumed it was.
He went there to wait for her from cleaning up the prom.
Yeah.
Fucking creepy.
Well, in that bar mitzvah conversation.
Yeah, really weird. I don't like him. He's weird.
Mm-hmm.
He feels like a little bit of an incel.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting. I mean, I have more to say. We actually, I guess it's worth noting, we have seen 2 animals. We had a snake and a dog. Where did the dog come from?
I don't know. That's the second time we've seen him, though.
It is? Okay.
It is. I saw him once before.
And it also is worth noting someone is dead at this point. We did lose, what was her name? Emily?
Emily, yeah. Well, 2 people are dead because Cassandra's dead too.
Yeah, true. I'm still making my peace with that. I didn't realize I was so fully in the Cassandra camp, but
no, I get it. It's like I honestly get this more than I got your Amy on the Walking Dead thing, but it's a very similar vibe. It's a very similar vibe.
Well, and also Cassandra was kind of a bitch, and we know how I love a bitch, so yeah. Okay, I'm actually. What are we doing talking? Let's be watching the next episode.
All right, cool. Let's go.
Okay, so I have a feeling that we will be talking about this a little bit more than we anticipated.
Yeah, it could be.
I'm still probably not going to watch it as actively as I do the shows that we like set out to cover.
That makes sense.
So like these probably aren't going to, I wouldn't call these recaps. It's more just sort of you and me discussing it as it goes. So we're really only going to focus on the things that we find interesting versus, you know, because I've got a handle on a lot of the characters. This is the first episode that I watched being like, okay, figure out who everybody is. And so I was just going to talk about, well, for starters, I love Lexi. She was cracking me up. It's Grace Victoria Cox, who was in Heathers, and she was also in Now Apocalypse.
Okay.
She's just a featured but recurring character. But yeah, she's hysterical, and I think she's one to watch. I think she's going to end up playing a role.
On this show?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's currently like boarded up in her mother's house. Her mother was a hoarder.
Yeah, so she's like there alone. She refuses to come out since Cassandra got shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had a funeral. They really sort of, well, we had anarchy for a while. It's fascinating. I found in the first couple of episodes, I found the title to be a little bit baffling. The society. I thought that doesn't really suit this show. And now I'm getting it because we're really exploring society. You know, we're exploring and the different levels of it. And I gotta say, they're doing probably what I would be doing, is certainly at this age.
Yeah, I think at that age, I agree with that.
It's between a democracy, but they're so far really yet to be voting. I mean, they've done a show of hands a handful of times, but they had no idea what to do without Cassandra, how to even go about replacing her. And so part of me kind of agreed that the next logical step was to go kind of like monarchy, where it was to put her sister in charge.
Right.
They were obviously close, so they shared some similar traits. And Allie has an idea. Allie's younger, though. That is something. But Allie has an idea of what Cassandra would do. And another important factor, I think, is that Allie doesn't necessarily want it.
Yeah, I mean, we're about to go 6 rounds of that tonight on Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
But it's sometimes good to put somebody in power who doesn't want it, but sometimes it's not.
Well, and unlike Game of Thrones, they're in a position where we have 200 people and one of them has to do it.
Right.
So Game of Thrones is an entire established continent.
Yeah.
And I think this is true of most social structures, that it's like there's sort of an upper echelon of...
Yeah.
And by that, I don't necessarily mean the cool kids or the popular kids, but it's like certain people sort of rose to the top in different from different cliques.
Yeah.
And I like that. I have a fair amount of faith in our council.
Yeah, the dudes who are on the council, I mostly like them. I just can't tell them apart.
A handful of the jocks have ended up being quite reasonable.
They're very reasonable, and they also are, like, very chivalrous in, like, not a gross way, where they are like, we will keep you safe. And I like that notion.
Yeah, they're
like, taking their responsibility very seriously.
Yeah, they're wearing their Letterman jackets, so it's, like, kind of, you can tell that they're calling them the Guard, so...
Yeah.
I'm finding it, I mean, granted, we were teenagers in the late 90s and early 2000s, but I'm finding it realistic. I'm finding it believable.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's like some of the jocks that we knew, like, you know...
We're great guys.
Well, like Zach Trusty and like Adam Burke, they would have absolutely been Luke and the other one.
Mm-hmm.
They would have like stepped up and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, we know a couple of Campbells from high school.
There was a theme in this episode of people making promises, and in particular, men making promises to women in a way that isn't like all of the women reacted negatively towards it.
Well, they all very rightly were like, you can't promise that.
Mm-hmm. And it's the way that, again, we're conditioned to sort of behave. Mm-hmm. Like, even especially young men feel like they have to sort of put these shows on. Yeah. And it's a little bit disconcerting, you know, and they all, most of them, I guess, mean well, especially because we had Sam and, was it Becca?
Yeah.
Where he's trying to be very supportive and he's being very sweet, but it's kind of like not what she's needing right now.
I would also say his is the most egregious example. Despite him being the sweetest guy that we have on the show, his is the most egregious. You cannot tell a pregnant girl everything will be okay when there's not a hospital and there's not an adult and there are no doctors. Mm-hmm. And these kids don't know what medication to give her if she needs it. She's right. She's got a 50-50 shot.
That's something that I thought that we should have gotten on, and I feel like Cassandra would have been next on her plan, but I was like, someone with the slightest bit of, like, medical acumen needs to be reading books at the hospital.
Yeah, you know that's Gordy, and I don't trust him either.
Yeah. He's on our council, and I am suspicious of Gordy.
I guess Gordy and then the girl that wears the hijab, her name is Bean. Those two seem the most scientifically inclined, and I would trust her, but I don't trust Gordy. There's something about him. Yeah.
A character that I've actually kind of enjoyed. I found her kind of interesting, and I've enjoyed her, especially in this episode and a little bit
Helena.
of the previous. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Helena.
She's super religious, but so far not in a way that's like, they're all gonna laugh at you, you know?
It's not gross religious. She's like a pretty standard, like, Christian kid. Mm-hmm. But she also, like, her family has the guns. And
she fucking
she's
knows
blowing
what she's...
her boyfriend. So
yeah, she knows
it's a toss-up.
She knows what she's doing. And I gotta be honest, I really appreciate and find the gun stuff interesting.
It's super interesting.
Because I don't know. It's tricky. If there were 6 people, I feel like I would have stronger answers. And if I'll be even more general. If there was 10 people, I feel like I got this. And if there was 1,000 people, I feel like I got this. But 200 is too few and too many for me to kind of be like, what do we do with the guns? Yeah, what do we even do? Well, beyond the guns, but because it's like Allie confiscated as many of them as she could, and Helena they need Helena. They need her on the council.
They do need her on the council because she's totally right. She's like, the people whose guns you're getting are the people who don't care if you take them. Mm-hmm. But like, and then I loved that she was like, you're not taking mine. Mm-hmm. I was like, that's wise. I mean, you know, and Helena seems level-headed enough to keep them.
I mean, she was teaching her boyfriend how to, she started with rule 1, you know? And that's the thing I've said before, but it was like, I do not own a gun, and I mean, I was raised with guns, so I know a lot about them and the proper ways to deal with them and stuff. And so it is interesting to see it being tackled in this show. Yeah. And I mean, on that note, I will say that I didn't read a lot about it, but I did see like the consensus on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it had like a high 70 or a low 80. It was around that point.
That's not bad.
No, it's good. But one of the things was like, the consensus commented that the show was lacking in levity, which
I disagree.
I take issue with that because we are finding the show oddly hilarious. And not in any sense that I'm not laughing at what's happening. Like,
no, but it's like it feels like how teenagers would act in these situations. So they're saying funny things.
Well, and
to
even
each
just
other.
the scene at the cafeteria when like shit hit the fan and everybody pulled their guns out. I was like hysterical, and it wasn't done poorly. Like I wasn't laughing at the show in that regard, but I was like, this is insane how this
But it's
is
like such commentary
unraveling. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like crazy. I know Will is still being your favorite character.
Oh my God. I really don't like him. He's like, first of all, trying to kick Campbell and Harry out of Cassandra's funeral was so stupid. He was the one he was like, Allie doesn't need a scene right now. And I was like, bitch, you're the only one making a scene.
And you do have like the commentary. It's obvious. The conclusions the show is coming to and the statements it's making is pretty obvious, but they're doing a good job in it with the way that like the males, the way the boys and the girls are dealing with each other, where the girls have to very cautiously approach the boys and convince them to behave.
Well, and it's also very interesting because especially with the guns and stuff, because it's exactly how I would imagine teenagers today would go through this stuff, where it's like they don't have all these conclusions already, so they're reaching these conclusions in the order I think they would be doing it. And I really appreciate that about it too.
Because the scene where, and I think it was where Elle approached Will and she was like, you need to be careful how you talk to people. And he's
Kelly.
Was it Kelly?
Yeah.
I get them confused. And he was so offended because he's like, I'm the good guy. I'm being the white knight. And she's like, no, you're poking the sleeping bear.
Exactly. Kelly is a lot more savvy than I think she gets credit for. Within the group.
For sure. And with the guns, last thing I was going to say, because Allie was originally planning on destroying them. And I was like, don't do that. It's what you need to do, in my opinion. I was like, you need to take them and you need to put them somewhere safe. Of course, that's impossible to do. But really,
put them in Helena's gun safe.
Yeah, well, ideally put them somewhere until you can figure out a way, and I just, because we also don't know how long, we don't know where we are, we don't know for how long, it's like, you definitely don't want to destroy them, but it's really fascinating. The final thing that we really need to say about this episode, we'll see how it goes moving forward, but in my opinion, this is the step too far.
Oh, really?
You don't think so?
I'm undecided.
Well, like I said, it's going to depend on how...
it's not like it was subtle. I feel like we already knew.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe putting a button on it is what I'm sort of reacting to, but basically, is it...
Campbell.
I wanted to say Colin. Campbell is like a psychopath, like clinically.
Like diagnosed, yeah.
And it was a lot.
That story was horrific.
Yeah.
Like, worse than I could have imagined.
Yeah.
As a former bird owner.
I just wonder, what are we supposed to do, like, outside of this specific incident, this weird experiment? Like, what are we supposed to do with people like that?
I mean, kill them.
It feels, little
sorry, that was
Minority Report.
Well, my answer was within the situation.
Okay.
You said outside the situation. Within this situation, he's got to go.
Just take him out.
Yeah, but in the real world society, you're right, that does get into a Minority Report kind of thing. Although, he did just attempted murder, so he could conceivably be put in, like, a jail cell or something, but,
And he is the one that held a gun to Cassandra's face in the first episode, so... It's kind of, that Elle thing, it was so weird, and because he, like, pretended like he was going to kill her just to be like, I'd never hurt you, and it was weird. It was real weird.
He almost drowned her, and then said, I'm the only one who can keep you safe?
Yeah, I want to believe that she's going to get out of there, but I just don't.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
She's broken. Otherwise, she wouldn't stick with him, I don't think.
Well, this is the first time he's outright tried to hurt her.
Yeah, but she gives me that vibe of, like, not being able to tell something's not good for you, and then by the time you do tell it,
well, and also care. In this scenario, I could see how she might be able to talk herself into him being an asset.
Yeah, but as a psychopath, I feel like he's out for himself only.
Yeah. Because that's where I'd have the hard time, where it's like an insane stakes like this, I would want to kill her, but it was like I would also need to have faith that I'm not on that list. You know?
not that kind of killer. I mean, like there's a difference because I think, I mean, I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but like he, as a psychopath, would want her because she humanizes him and helps him fly under the radar. But because it's like Sam said, he can mimic.
So then she is valuable to him to a point.
To a point, but if she steps out of line or tells somebody about him or gets in his way, he would easily kill her.
Mm-hmm. We'll see.
I don't know.
My hope is to see her at, the council's house next episode, but
I super doubt it.
Well, let's go find out.
All right.
Do you have anything else?
No, not for now.
So, yeah,
I do. They should have definitely buried Cassandra deeper and further from a building.
You said that.
That was a problem.
I'm for Allie was these are interesting characters, and I'm going to go ahead and say well written at this point, because Allie was getting on my nerves a little bit for a while, but now I am very, very much on her team and in her camp, and I am sympathetic to her, especially at the end, her lying in bed just crying, because it's like that was after we found out about Campbell. So yeah, but I like this notion, and I would say that it's quasi believable. I think that in a scenario like this with the young people like this, I would go ahead and like enlist a queen, like a female leader with a balanced council, and then a like squad of jocks. That's probably the best way, because that's 3 different forms of government.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. It's just too bad that it's Connecticut, because there's no black ladies around.
No, there's like 1 or 2 extras, but that's it.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, we'll check back after the next time we have things to say. So, alrighty. 10 minutes into the next episode. Okay, I really don't have a ton to say about this one. I think this is more of a check-in, but it was the trial. Mm-hmm. Interesting. The show is making some very interesting choices.
I liked this episode a lot.
Did you?
Yeah.
I don't remember if I said this to you or while we were recording, but I had initially guessed that Allie had killed Cassandra.
Right.
That was just the first thing I said, because I was trying to pick the most wild conclusion.
Yeah.
And the show isn't really going that way in a way that I appreciate. It's like we were sort of presented with the answer. And granted, it was in episode 5. Cassandra was killed at the end of episode 3, so we win a whole episode.
Yeah.
Without resolution. But in the beginning of episode 5, Dewey very blatantly was kind of like, yeah, I did it, and I'd do it again, too.
And, to Harry, like, kind of confessing to Harry.
And I clocked him in the 3rd episode, because I was like, this kind of nerdy kid is trying just a little too hard to fit in with the cool guys. And that's when he kind of confessed, you were like, oh, is this just it? And I like that the show seems to, though it has mysteries and surprises and stuff, it is once again more about the journey than the destination.
Yeah.
So he sort of admits to this crime, which, let me ask you, do you think he did?
His confession to Harry at the beginning and then his confession at the end in the courtroom, I don't know why you would do either of those things if it wasn't really you.
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing where I had very little sympathy for him throughout this whole episode, because at no point was he even trying to play the game.
Yeah.
And if he was being like more sympathetic, because the scene towards the end when Allie was like, tell me why, I was just completely on her side, where I was like, look, dude, you're in dire straits. And if you're going to be a prick about it, then I don't feel sorry for you. I'm glad to get rid of you. Like, also,
this is like such a all or nothing scenario. What makes you think they won't kill you?
Yeah, that was a little bit where he suddenly was like, huh? Yeah. Really? And it was like, I mean, I don't know. You're the one that took the gun to the only person who was...
This is also like a primitive society at this point, where like sure, they've still got their phones and shit, it's not primitive in that way, but they are just setting stuff up.
There are not checks and balances.
Yeah, the first thing people go to when someone commits a crime in a situation like this is, well, that's a bad apple in the barrel, kill him.
Yeah, eye for an eye.
Especially because it's not just like stealing. It's not like he stole, you know, and whatever. It's like, no, he killed their leader. That's an assassination, to be honest.
Yeah. We touched on this in the previous episode, but I really like Helena. And I like that Allie sort of forced her hand, and then Helena was like, okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, she did her due diligence. She did a good job.
So anyways, at the end of the episode, should I already forget? Dewey.
Yeah.
Dewey was like, yeah, I did it. And Harry and
Campbell.
I was going to Caleb again.
No.
Harry and Campbell helped me, which we're pretty certain they didn't.
No.
That was just him reigning chaos.
Yeah, Harry was talking about how Cassandra was such a bitch, but, like, there's a difference between talk and doing it. And I honestly, even though Campbell is definitely a psychopath, I don't believe he helped with this. I think he killed the dog for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that feels weird to me. Like, why even include it? Because we already
know.
Yeah, that's all information we already knew, and it's like
Elle didn't know though.
Yeah, we also. I mean, I don't think that the dog is out there, but we didn't see it happen. I mean, I'm pretty sure that it did, but it's also. I feel like it's short-sighted on his part because it's like. You know more about like psychopaths and sociopaths and stuff than I do, but it's like. Obviously, it's like a defect. It's like a problem with somebody's brain.
Yeah.
Are they always, quote unquote, evil?
Well, I can't totally answer, but their brains don't process emotions properly. So
it's not necessarily that they're evil, but it's like if they can't empathize, then what are they gonna? Yeah.
They don't care. They don't care about other people in like a real way.
Him killing the dog, and especially doing it now and this way, it just felt really, really short-sighted, where it was like, she's not stupid, and you can't be stupid enough to think she's that stupid. So, I mean, are you sending her a third sign? Like...
Yeah, I don't know.
That I found odd,
I think he maybe thinks she's that cut off, and she's that broken, that she won't leave him anyway.
I mean, she hasn't yet, but...
Yeah.
My patience for her is only going to last for so long.
Same, yeah. I mean, she could go all in on it, in which case, fine. But she's still walking the tightrope. She hasn't gone either direction yet.
Yeah, the dog thing is weird, though. It felt, and I mean, she also didn't even acknowledge that he tried to kill her in order to prove that he wouldn't ever kill her. Right. So it was weird. And also, he like fingered her almost to completion first, and then was like drown a clock. So it was. There were things happening. It was, you're right. I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there was any, I mean, there was plenty of things that happened in the episode. We lost one of our guard boys. That also was annoying to me, but.
Well, he's not dead. He just got kicked off the guard, I think.
Yeah, for going rogue, for going crazy. Yeah. And I don't know. Yeah, it was interesting. I really do feel for Allie. She is pretty cornered at this point.
She's doing a good job, though, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I mean, also, it is, I guess it's nice to know that, like, the crowd has turned on Harry and...
Campbell for sure, but Harry seems to be getting some heat as well.
And in interest of transparency, Allie's doing as much of this in front of the crowd as possible.
Right.
But the problem there is you then get mob mentality. Yeah. So... Yeah, wow. It's a lot. It's really, really a lot.
This show is really saying a lot, but it's saying a lot by showing, not telling. Mm-hmm. And I think that's my favorite part about it. I'm like weirdly blown away by this show, actually. I didn't think I was going to be as into it as I am. Mm-hmm. But I'm like super into it.
So, yeah, I think that's all we really were going to say about that one. So we'll check in after the next one. And if we remember anything, we'll comment then.
Will do.
Okay, so do you understand how I sat down to watch the end of episode 5?
6.
6?
Yeah.
And then plowed through 3 episodes?
Yes, I do. And also, I fucking love this show.
It's so good. It's so good. I am shocked. I am shocked that it's turning out to be as good as it is. And yes. I realize that is what it's like is like a more focused Lost.
Yeah, I could see that.
Like, we're not, like, there's definitely, like, a mystery and probably even a supernatural component, but we're not bogged down by this, like, mythos the way that we did get with Lost. And I mean, at the 7-episode point of Lost, I think we were loving it too.
Sure. I also was going to say it's a little bit like The Leftovers.
That's what, one of the things said it was like The Leftovers and like The 100 and a little bit of Gossip Girl.
A little bit, yeah.
I'm going to try and talk about the episodes. I did keep a little bit of notes, so I was going to try and talk about the episodes that we skipped. Okay. You know, we didn't plan to cover this. We fell into it. So typically when we do episodic coverage, we try to talk after each episode, and we just, you know, weren't able to with this coverage.
I've been sick, and it's the week now, and you're back at the beach, and I'm at home, and so there's a lot of circumstances.
We're not together right now, and I got a lot of very worried messages from you.
I was... so stressed out.
So, episode 6, there was a couple things that I wanted to touch on. I'm surprised how good the writing is.
Me too.
I glanced at the Wikipedia. I didn't do any math or anything like that, but it was a pretty even, straight down the middle of male and female writers.
Okay.
Which is something that I don't remember if we mentioned in our coverage of Game of Thrones that just ended, but they haven't had a woman in the writer's room since season 3.
Christ almighty, are you serious?
That's true. The last female writer they had was season 3.
Gross. So. That's the fucking problem.
Yeah, and it's like, well, we could have an entire conversation about that. I'm not going to do it right now, but
not right now.
Yeah, I think that the evidence, I think you can tell in a show like this, because I'm astonished that we're 7 episodes in and many months in, and we've yet to have like a rape epidemic or anything, you know?
Right.
So.
Not even one rape.
I mean, certainly not that we know of. You know what I mean? Like, not that the show's covered.
You could make the argument that Elle's not totally into it anymore, but...
And we don't know what Becca's deal is or was, but that's I think, the first place that a handful of writers, particularly male writers, would have gone.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's not completely absent from the storytelling, but it's not something that we're living through. And they arrested Dewey in episode 5 for murdering Cassandra.
Yeah.
And so this was his trial. There was a couple things that we dealt with. I was going to mention that there was this really awesome scene in the earlier part of the episode between Campbell and Allie.
Yeah.
Where they had him arrested too. Dewey had also accused Campbell and Harry.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% on everybody's name.
You're doing good so far. You got Campbell right on the first try.
Yeah, I thought of Soup, finally.
Oh, okay.
Because they kept trying to call him, like, Clifton or something, but it was really great. And it's interesting having them be cousins, because they're family, but that's not like a close tie the way Cassandra and Allie were. And it wasn't a bluff, because like I want to say he called her bluff, and it wasn't that. But basically he was like, you can't figure out what to do with me. Mm-hmm. And he was like, because you know I'm a problem.
Well, he was like, everybody's scared of me, but you don't have any proof that I did anything.
Yeah, and he was like, and he called her out in a way that I am fascinated that I am as fascinated as I am by him.
Mm-hmm.
I earlier said that I think he was the step too far, and so far they're keeping it interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
But I liked that, and I gotta be honest, I feel like she's got a downfall coming, and I'm devastated, but I love Allie.
She's doing so good.
I am so proud of her.
Yeah.
And I have that feeling about so many of these characters in a weird way.
Yeah.
But it's because I know that they're so young, and it's like they're doing so well. And I kind of wanted to I want to tweet from the rooftops and be like, anybody who's like bummed or hurt or betrayed about Dany's arc, I've got another queen, another young queen for you.
Let's wait till we finish the season before we
I know. But in particular with the Dewey situation, do you have anything to say about the Dewey situation?
There was nothing else she could have done.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it had to go. Absolutely.
And I can't believe the show was able to actually manage that. And it's wild. Another thing that's so wild to me about the show is how, because we're dealing with teenagers, I'm going to go ahead and loosely say adults. They're 16, 17, and 18 because they stamped the age 16 on them. It was the kids over 16. And I said, from a historical and a biological standpoint, they're adults. They're mature in that regard. Sure. And they are coupling and stuff. But again, they're so young. But you said that there's nothing else she could have done, and it's like I can't believe how what a good job this show is doing. And also another thing that's weird to me is how prevalent sex and sexuality is on the show, but we've yet to have any like sex position.
Well, yeah, there's not like sex scenes. You can tell that the people are having sex, but there's no sex scenes.
There's been no nudity.
Yeah, I think I like it. I prefer it. This feels like a CW show or like a late era WB show.
Mm-hmm.
In like the best way, like the most complimentary way you can take that.
But it is TVMA. The language and the content is all there, but we're not seeing things, which I feel like is the more responsible considering the young age of the people involved.
Right.
So yeah, she did what she had to do. It was such a difficult thing because, and they laid out all of her options where Will, I think it was one of the times that I agreed with him where he was like, you have to make a strong show. You really have to set. Not so much make an example. Well, kind of. I mean, send a message. Yeah, a precedent. Yeah. And here is my issue, and here is why I was actually, by the end of it, I was like, just fucking do it. Like, fucking kill him. Is because he did nothing. He did not play into this in any way, shape, or form. He was Dewey. He was being a jerk. He was being entitled. He was, there was no remorse. And then on top of that, because there was a part of me that I was like, well, did he really do this? Or was he just trying to impress the other dudes? But by the end, he was like, I won't do it again.
Well, yeah, the thing for me is that he didn't show remorse and he didn't show remorse and he didn't show remorse until he started showing remorse when he knew he was going to die. And it's like, that can't be when you show the remorse. And then when she like after she finally sentenced him, he was like, I'll fucking kill you too. And I just was like, well, I mean, okay. And then you can't be like a whiny baby when you're actually going to die. You did it. You didn't feel sorry about it. You said you'd do it again.
And I mean, and that's why I keep stressing where it was like, this was heinous several ways over, because it was like, not only did he murder somebody, but it wasn't self-defense. It wasn't an accident. Like it was, and he took, because Allie literally says this wasn't a murder. This was an assassination.
I said that.
Did you? Okay. Yeah. I conflated it with Allie. So
I thank you. I feel very flattered.
No, it like you did damage to the community, and they're in a place where I fully believe that if they had the resources, she would have put him in jail, but they just didn't have it.
Well, they don't have the resources. I'm still concerned that they're like taking prisoners into that wine cellar, and not because of any like societal problems. I'm just worried about the wine. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm worried somebody's going to break all of the wine.
Yeah.
But in addition to not having the resources, it's like he was being a belligerent inmate, too. He was not eating or drinking.
And that's what I mean. I was like, and we talked about her already, but how great is Helena turning out to be?
My God. Helena is definitely in my like top 5 characters.
Is she?
Yeah.
And like when we were first introduced to her, we're like, oh God, the church girl. At least that was how I felt. I was like, I have no interest in this.
I thought it could have gone that way, but they steered away from that pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. Well, she's doing it the right way, the way that you and me feel like God
religion should happen. Yeah.
should be done. And it's like, and I love that they have the importance of community. And it's like, I can't remember if I said this in our coverage or personally between you and me, but I was like, I found this the title, The Society, a little strange at first. I thought, what a weird name for this show. And as we're getting into it, I was like, oh, I get it now, because it's more about society and how it works.
Yeah. Because
again, if she could have kept Dewey in prison, I feel like she would have done that. But given the stakes that everybody was in, a extreme decision had to be made, and had to be made quickly. And then she fucking did it. That was the moment where I was like, I love Allie, because Grizz couldn't manage.
Grizz has a gentle heart.
But I also thought it was great that they did that with the 3 guns.
Yeah.
Because
so no one has to carry the weight. Yeah.
Yeah. And
that's how firing squads literally are.
Yeah. But that they knew that they're, and they are thinking ahead a little bit
They're not thinking ahead enough for my liking because Kelly should have been, like, I'm jumping ahead, but Kelly and someone should have been training ahead for a medical emergency. Learning how to put in IVs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Kelly and Gordy were totally flying blind.
Yeah, they figured it out, but they needed somebody doing that, and it's like I'm happy and glad that they have kind of the guard underway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's no real reason. I don't think he's like a character, but I don't really care for Shu. I feel like he's gonna be.
Yeah, he's a little weird.
He's gonna be trouble. I feel like.
Well, I think he's mostly dumb.
Okay.
I think he's mostly dumb, but he's not my favorite. I liked the guard we were like already like tight with.
Speaking of, and we're gonna jump around a little bit, but speaking of not my favorite anymore, fucking Lexi, man. Whew. I liked her, and I do not anymore.
Off the deep
that
end.
Shit was not an accident.
No.
And how Bean didn't realize sooner was weird.
Yeah.
Like where it was going, it was all very strange.
I didn't care for that Thanksgiving improv.
No. Helena and Luke he's Luke, right? He's her boy?
Yeah, he's Luke, yeah.
He's not the one who beat up Dewey and got kicked out of the guard. That's the other tall dude with brown hair.
They're all tall dudes with brown hair.
With the brown-haired girlfriend. They're the couple that are pretending to still be together so they get the good room.
Well, he's in the guard again, though.
Okay, he is? Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if that was actually him. It must have been. Because we did do a 6-month time jump, but he was kicked out for only like one episode, I think.
Okay.
But I think that one is him. The one that got kicked out.
Okay, so we have Becca and Sam. This show is flirting with, not sloppy, but there's a handful of things that I'm like, oh god, do we have to do this? And so far they're doing it pretty well, so I'm content to keep watching. But the stuff with Sam and Becca, I just was sort of like, oh god, you're saying things, and I feel like it can work. I feel like, Becca doesn't need to be alone, and she's got a bit of a chip on her shoulder about this.
Yeah.
And I guess teenage pregnancy, sure, I get it.
It's ruining my happy gay story, though.
It really is. And also, it's like, I feel like she feels like she's gonna be alone in a way that she has no real evidence to. Like, this is gonna be a communal baby. Like,
yeah, there's no evidence that everybody's gonna shun her.
Mm-hmm.
I also, because I was literally squealing and like talking out loud to myself every time Grizz and Sam had scenes together.
Were you?
I was dying. It was the cutest thing I've ever seen. Oh my god. I was losing my shit here alone. It was incredible. Everything happened so exactly perfect. Sam was the cutest. Grizz was the cutest. And even after Grizz found out about Becca's baby, in the first place, I feel like Sam could be like, it's not really mine. I'm just helping her out. Like, I just tell Grizz. On the other hand, that kid that plays Grizz is so good. This is his first job ever.
I'm nervous because he's not a regular. He's a guest star. Shit. And I feel like it makes me we'll see.
Yeah, that's bad news. His name is Jack Mulhern.
Yeah, I think he's still on the show because I was flying too close to the sun. I was skimming an article about the finale.
Oh, he's in all 10 episodes.
Yeah, and the wording of it wasn't like an in memoriam to his character or anything. So I feel like it's being well received. So I feel like it's probably going to get a second season, and he'll probably be promoted or certainly back.
Okay.
Because he's kind of the breakout from what I'm seeing.
He is so fucking good. Well, in my opinion, he's the one who's doing the best who hasn't already had a breakout.
Mm-hmm.
Because like Sean Birdie, he was on Switched at Birth, and Catherine Newton and Gideon Adlon were both on Blockers. And so it's like all these other people have had something else, but he is so good. He reminds me of somebody and I can't place it, but I love him. I'm in love with him.
I feel like I knew him like
in high school.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about it a little bit, but I had a string of like, not really boyfriends, but like paramours, we'll go with.
What a word to choose.
And he fits the mold. So it's like, I feel like, I would have been Sam and I had a Grizz in high school. Let's just say that. But
He's just the cutest. They're so cute together.
The whole time, because I didn't think about it until you said it, but you're like, the whole time, all you could hear is, Grizz was in the Navy.
It's all I can hear.
I made myself laugh last night because I was like, well, I mean, Grizz is in the Navy, if you know what I mean. If you catch my drift.
Okay, Will, we need you to pull the Grizz was in the Navy clip and then a small clip from In the Navy by, what the hell's that band called?
The Village People.
The Village People.
Grizz was in the Navy. I was like, he's in the Navy, if you know what I mean.
Oh my gosh.
No, and that's the thing where it's like, I don't see how Grizz and Sam and Becca can't be a family unit.
No, I totally agree with you. For sure.
And yeah, so I think we'll get there. Kelly is great. I love how she took control of that situation.
Kelly's doing so good too. I'm so proud of Kelly. I think I'm proudest of Kelly.
I'm still there with Allie. I think that's an impossible job. And oh God, even Harry, the fact that like they're making Harry
nuanced.
Yeah. It's certainly interesting because it's like, I actually felt bad for him when he came to apologize to her.
Same.
And she was like,
get out.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah.
You are the last thing that I have patience for right now.
No, but I mean, it was like a noble gesture on his part. And I think that that's really wise, getting this, like, you know, all of their lives have been upended, but his life was upended. And then he made like one poor call. And now his life is like doubly upended.
He's made a few mistakes, and it's like this again, the society, the social structure and the hierarchy on the show is fascinating because he was wealthy and important and powerful in the world before.
Well, so were many of them. Those houses are fucking nice. But he was like the top dog at school, even though he wasn't on like the sports teams or whatever. And I think he could have handled it better. For sure. But then I think he could have handled the downfall better if he hadn't been the one who made the comments to Dewey. Mm-hmm. But because having Dewey then kill Cassandra, now he feels so responsible. And, you know, it's like Allie said, it's like, I can't arrest somebody for having thoughts. That's not a crime. And it's like, you know, he can't be the only one who wished Cassandra would shut up and go away. Well,
and it was a flippant remark, which in the world before you could get away with that.
Yeah.
And it's like I can't remember which girl, and I think we said this in our previous coverage, but I think it was Kelly talking to Will, where she was like, we can't speak to each other that way. She was like, we have to think about what we say in a way we didn't have to before. And that's, I think, what's been the most refreshing to me is that they're finding a way to mine real, true drama, but they're avoiding so many of the cliche pitfalls or the like, where characters are being stupid just purely for plot reason. Like they're actually, because I am constantly, you know, I'm the optimist. I'm the more altruistic person. I'm the one who's constantly saying, I don't think people are that bad. I don't think that this could happen. I think people, and it's very fascinating to see so many people trying to be good and still there are issues. You know what I mean?
Oh, like, yeah. No, for sure. And I think it's so interesting the way that they're exploring that because, you know, these are still relatively children and they are doing the best they can. But you're right, the way that they're getting legitimate drama out of all of these decisions that they're making, which some are kind of frivolous. Like, you know, they probably didn't need to have that Thanksgiving dinner. It was like really nice, but it's like kind of a frivolous decision. And in doing that, you know, they sort of left themselves open to a threat they didn't see coming.
The threat, sure, but I will defend party, like fun. I don't know. I can't think of the fancy word to call it, but like, if you don't have good things, life isn't worth living. And
100%. I'm not saying they shouldn't have had Thanksgiving. It's just not. It's not a necessity.
But but that's the thing. It's actually built into the Bible. The whole seventh day he rested.
Yeah.
It's such an essential, and the festivals and the celebrations and the concept of holidays. I mean, it goes back into the earliest books of the Old Testament that if you don't have time for the community to come together and celebrate, then you don't have society. You don't have life without that.
That's true.
That's one of the reasons why when, you know, I was putting Fairy Tale together, I hinged it around 7 parties. that are communal societal parties, because that's what they live for, kind of, and we do it with holidays. Like,
I was gonna say, I think it's also in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs too, like companionship.
Yeah, exactly. And so the fact that they're still doing that they had prom, that they're having Thanksgiving, I feel a little bit robbed of 4th of July, but we'll see.
If we get a season 2, maybe we'll have it next year.
Yeah, the time jump was welcome.
For sure.
I really appreciated that. We skipped 5 months, so we are now 6 months from where we started. They are running out of food. Well, they're good for now. The way that they said it is they're good until the coming summer.
Summer, yeah.
So
Which,
they have.
It begs the question for me. I don't know. I'm probably thinking about this too logistically, but like they should have planted food sooner.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was right before summer when it happened. They could have been growing food all summer and canning it and keeping it and whatever. There's books. They have a library. You can learn how to do all of that stuff. And then you can do summer crops, fall crops, and you can do winter crops. There also has to be somewhere in this town where you can grow stuff inside. So it's like, I feel like this is stuff they should have started thinking about before 6 months.
They certainly. That's one of the things that I will go ahead and nitpick a little bit, but I'll also let it go because it's just a TV show.
I'll definitely let it go because they are getting there now, but I just am like, if it were me, I would have planted a garden in my backyard on like day 4.
Well, on Lost, wasn't Sun planting her garden by like episode 5 or 6?
It was early because the polar bear comes at them when she's in the garden. Yeah.
The thing that, and I think it was Grizz brought up, is that this is going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
This is going to be old world farming. This is like gonna be tough.
Yeah.
Which is why the whole Dewey situation, not that Cassandra was a god and knew what to do, but it's just like, that's gonna go up there on my like character deaths that really stuck with me and infuriated me.
Yeah.
Because and especially now that she died and so quickly, you can hero worship her in a way.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Like she didn't
Cassandra would have known.
She didn't have time to like become the villain.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't live long enough to see herself become the villain, for sure.
Yeah. So we mentioned Thanksgiving. It was nice. We had scenes and stuff like we don't have a ton that we have to say. They're still eating communally. They were doing it. Just a lot of character stuff. Bean had to teach the boys how to not blow up the turkey,
which was hilarious. I love Bean. Bean is like my favorite secondary character. I like her a lot.
Around this time, we've acknowledged the committee for going home, and it's like 4 of the smarter kids are trying to figure out what's going on. And I'm actually impressed that they figured a couple of things out.
Yeah.
And I love the way that it was Gordy, right?
Yeah.
Where he was like, okay, we're dealing with one of two situations. He was like, either we are in the world and everybody else exists or disappeared, or everybody else is there and we disappeared.
Yeah.
And so they're leaning towards the second one now because of the way the stars, the planets are.
Right.
They do think that they are in an alternate reality.
And because there's no satellites.
Yeah, there's
in front of the moon.
Nothing man-made orbiting the Earth, and the stars are in different positions, and there was an eclipse that wasn't scheduled. Because they actually even entertained time travel, which I thought was interesting. And
I guess, when something like this happens to you, you have to have a little bit more of an open mind, but I was pleased as punch that none of the kids were like, you're talking crazy, this isn't a sci-fi novel. I was waiting for somebody to be like, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
And I was like, cool, they just all kind of accepted it at face value. I dig it.
And I also thought that because it's like, how would you even attempt to start something like that? And I liked all because he was like, we sent up a couple drones. We're trying to find the ocean. We're trying to find an end to like that stuff that is like, those are really good starting points.
Yeah, totally, for sure. Well, and that's the thing, like in this day and age, those are the easy things to do. And it's a situation where like on Lost, they didn't have access to that kind of technology. But these kids have been left with enough technology.
And they currently have electricity. I'm concerned about their batteries eroding because, after a certain point, phones stop charging and stuff.
Yeah.
I am concerned that they're going to lose power or water or something. My working theory was that it was a simulation, and why I don't know. That's a fucked up simulation. But
that's kind of what I guess I don't. Did you ever finish Under the Dome, or did it get canceled?
It got canceled, but it was Aliens, wasn't it?
Sure. Well, okay. So spoiler alert for Under the Dome, the book, I guess, because I didn't watch the show. But that's what I've been operating under, which is not necessarily aliens, but something like that, where it's like someone or something has put them in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, kind of like a simulation, but that makes it feel more scientific in a way. And the Under the Dome was so cool because the book, even though Stephen King infuriates me, but it was so cool because it turned out that it was basically like alien children. And it was as if Earth were like ants that, you know, when you like fry ants with a magnifying glass when you're like a little kid, it was like that like alien children were playing with us. And I was like, that's fucking interesting.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel so sinister as all of that. And obviously in a Stephen King book, the people were way worse to each other, but that's the vibe I'm getting. More like that. Like definitely some kind of experiment or a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was thinking, I mean, also because on the back of Stranger Things, I was thinking, like, this feels like season 5 of Stranger Things, if you ask me.
Sure.
But I guess that brings us to the pie. It was thrilling to watch. I really don't have a ton to say about it. What
if
are
by
you?
Thrilling, you mean I almost threw up 3 times? I was terrified. Campbell is seriously terrifying.
You know, he is. Why is she staying with him? Like, why hasn't she distanced herself from him?
I think he's been hitting
Stockholm again?
I don't
Stockholm
think
syndrome?
it's necessarily Stockholm, but he's clearly been hitting her. We saw her bruises. Hitting her, grabbing her too hard or something. He's been abusing her. She has bruises.
Okay.
And so
I
I
didn't
think
clock that.
Yeah, I think she's scared, but I also think if she leaves, he will take her back and be angry.
But I feel like she was in a room with Allie. And that is the other thing is Allie, she pretty much admitted to Allie what was happening.
Yeah.
I highly recommended the show to Will before I left, and I do still think he will enjoy it. She's the one character that I feel like would really get on his nerves. But there's the thing where it's like they did so much, and this is what I was talking about earlier about the writing being so good and the way they're exploring this stuff being so good. They earned so much patience and understanding and empathy from me just by the one scene where she was in the bathroom practicing smiling.
Yeah.
I would have never thought that would give me more patience with her.
Yeah. That's where we saw her bruises, by the way, because then she changed her shirt after.
Okay. Because we see that she's attempting to do stuff. And for me, I kind of thought there was a part of her that believes he's an asset to her.
I'm not sure if it goes that deep. I think she was alone at the beginning and she tried to go to those other girls.
I keep forgetting she was the loner. I got her and Kelly confused. They look similar too.
Kelly was fine.
Mm-hmm. Kelly was with Harry.
People. Yeah.
No, Elle was with Harry.
No.
Kelly
was with Harry.
I get them confused.
Think she was alone and she tried to go with those girls and the girls were like GTFO and then she was still alone and Campbell showed an interest. And I think she just didn't want to be alone and she didn't know who else to go to. And so now she's with him and he's kept her from being alone and I feel like she feels like she can't leave him.
I'm also surprised that she hasn't attempted to reason with him.
Well, he's a sociopath. You can't.
No, I understand that, but especially given the way that episode 8 ended.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that she hasn't been like, I know you hurt the dog. Why what do you expect me to feel? Like, how do you expect me to feel about that? And I still feel like the dog is a weird missing, like a lost plot.
Yeah.
Because it's like there have been so few animals in this. And so it's like, I feel like the dog had to have meant something. It had to be from, because like, what are the chances that it's like these kids on a field trip, one dog? and it's like, I mean, I've accepted that he killed it, but we didn't see it happen. You know what I mean? So it's like that something about it just rings, like it pings my, And so there's a part of me because he actually had a very he was very open and honest with her about the Thanksgiving stuff, where he was like, I just didn't feel it. He was like, I knew I was supposed to, and I could see other people. And so there's a part of me where it's like, and that's what I would do. And of course, I'm going to be murdered one day by my handsome boyfriend. But it's like, there's a part of me that was like, why isn't she trying to connect with him?
I mean, who knows? We don't know anything really about Elle. Maybe her dad was abusive and she knows the drill or whatever, but I really don't know. I'm enjoying it. I like the story. I love the twist that they did where Campbell was like, I know that you did something to the pie and it's fine, basically.
She basically made him Thanksgiving dinner, and he loves pumpkin pie, and so she made him a pie and poisoned it with antifreeze. And
a lot of antifreeze.
And then at the last minute, in an attempt to actually do something nice for her, he insisted they go be with everyone else. Right. And she couldn't, he made sure of it that she couldn't undo it at any point. And so the pie got dished out, and a lot of nuance that the show that I was able to stick with the show through scenes this stressful and frustrating.
It's so tense, yeah.
And she ended up partially throwing herself on the grenade by eating some of it.
Yeah.
And I don't know what exactly her plan was. People got sick. Thankfully, nobody that we know of has permanent damage.
I think what her plan was, I think she thought that he would realize what she tried to do, and she was trying to kill herself. Because when they put the IV in her, she was like, I don't want it, take it out. I think she was worried he was going to kill her, and she wanted to go out on her own.
That's insanely bleak, but yeah.
That's what it clocked for me.
Uh-huh.
Sorry.
No, I mean, yeah, I don't know that her motives were that clear in her mind. I mean, I'm sure that was a layer in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But because I also thought it was more of her guilt that she did it to the other people.
Well, probably that too. She probably worried that if he didn't kill her, Allie would.
Yeah.
If they found out.
And because that's the other thing that I would have done is while they were taking the pie there, I would have demanded to see Allie privately.
Yeah.
And I would have just completely confessed, thrown myself on the mercy of the court and be like, I was trying to kill him. This has gotten out of control,
Sure.
So honestly, that's what I would have done. And I have a lot of faith in Allie. So I don't know. I don't know what would come of it. And I am a little worried that Allie is being set up for a downfall with this election. But
yeah, that's when I texted you and was like, Will's a fucking idiot. Because he was like, you need to hold an election. And I was like, it is way too soon for an election.
It is.
Way too soon. And I was like, are you fucking crazy? I don't like it. And now he's in love with Allie? After he had sex with Kelly? Are you fucking kidding me? What a fuckboy. I hate Will. He is full trash. I would get with Campbell before I got with Will. He sucks so bad.
Well, and that's the thing we didn't say is that Campbell figured out pretty quickly. And I was doing the thing where I couldn't tell what he knew the whole time because they were in the bathroom and he was like, are you going to try that again? And I was like, God, he knew the whole time. And then it turns out he really didn't. He was
legitimately sleeping in there.
Yeah. But he figured out when they were questioning her about potentially poisoning them and he lied for her.
Uh-huh.
And so now we've got a potential Bonnie and Clyde situation. Well, that's where he's going at it because he's like, you're just like me.
Yeah.
And she's sort of, I don't know.
She's like, no, I'm definitely not. And I was like, girl, go with it for a minute.
Well, I was going to say, it's more of a boxing Helena, but I don't know. It's like, I don't know what it is, but it's crazy. And I don't know. I was trying to explain the show to my mom, and according to her, I was doing a very good job. But when I was telling her about Campbell, it's funny because she said the thing I said where she was like, it's a shame they can't utilize him.
Yeah.
And I was like, because he could be an asset in a world like this.
Well, he could easily be the executioner because he clearly has no, problem with it.
And that's why I'm like, I asked you before, what you knew about psychopaths, where I was like, can he be reasoned with? Can he be put on a leash?
It depends.
So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we will.
We have no idea what future this show holds. This could go I could see this one taking off. If they let it sit for just a fucking minute, Netflix,
Yeah.
if you actually let something sit,
Yep.
I can see a bunch of teenagers globbing onto this over the summer.
Agreed.
And
yeah, definitely over the summer.
We could
I
go
definitely
5
agree.
seasons with something like this.
I guess we don't know how it ends yet, so I at least feel like I want more.
Mm-hmm. So we touched upon the Grizz and Sam stuff and that. I mean, I guess we're still mid.
My heart. I am
hair.
that Tina Belcher. My heart, seriously. Ugh. It's literally I want to say one of the best teen soap romances in the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say it. I'll put it out there. It is the cutest thing I've ever seen. It's so realistic.
Well, and Grizz he's so smart, but he's also a dummy.
I know. I love him so much. That kid is going places for sure.
He's only 20.
Yeah, he's going places.
So I think that's good. Oh, and you gotta go. So
and I gotta go.
we took some time with this recap.
We did. Well, it's three episodes.
Mm-hmm. I was like, when it was over.
I'm so mad. It was such a cliffhanger.
Yeah, but it's good. It was good.
It's so good.
I'm trying to remember what was going on. Well, you messaged me. Okay. I messaged you, and I accidentally messaged our group thing.
Yeah.
But I was like, holy shit, I fucking know what's going on.
Okay, what's going on? Because I still don't know what's going on.
It's the Pied Piper of Hamelin.
Okay, all right. Because after I started reading like fan theories, and that's one that I saw because the guy's name was Pfeiffer.
Yeah. Do you know the fairy tale?
Vaguely. He like took all the kids to get away from the rats. And then he took the rats.
The town had like a rat epidemic. And so this like Piper came and was like, I can get rid of it for this like exorbitant amount of money. And the mayor was like, sure. And he got rid of the rats. And then the mayor was like, I'm not going to pay you. And so then as punishment, he took the children.
Okay.
And he like, how it ends differs because you know how like folklore is.
Yeah.
But like one of the versions that I remember growing up is that he took the children to like this like other world. It was like this mountain where they like established a utopia.
Interesting.
And so literally when she said the guy's name was Pfeiffer, I was like, I know exactly what we're doing.
All right. I dig it. So you don't think, I mean, could it still be a like alternate dimension or whatever?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know exactly because it's like, obviously there was a smell and then there was a dude who said he could get rid of the smell. And so it's like, I don't know if we're going in like a chemical warfare or like, I mean, I said one of the last times we were recording that it has like a Stranger Things vibe, like a shady government dealing thing. To my memory, the fairy tale very deliberately says like 130 kids.
Okay.
And we're dealing with like 220 or something, or 200, so...
It was 225, now it's 222.
Mm-hmm. My brain literally was just like, the second that Allie was like Pfeiffer, I was like, that's a weird name. And then I just like put all the pieces together. Interesting.
Okay, all right, I'm for it.
So other people think that?
I read it on a couple different like lists of fan theories, yeah.
Okay. Okay, it was episode 9 and 10, and my first note says IDK, boy who is not Luke or Clark, but nothing quite says leadership like chugging a beer, burping, and then crushing the can.
His name's Jason.
Jason, okay.
I learned it in the last 2 episodes because he finally started doing stuff that made me pay attention.
I think that the show could use a touch more diversity. We have... Will is like our only series regular of color. Well, Helena. So we have Helena's Asian, and it's not so much that I expect them to be like a United Colors of Benetton ad, but as we've said several times, when like every dude is like 6'3" with brown shaggy hair, and
I would like some diversity. I mean, I can understand why it's not because it takes place in like
New England, like
1%er Connecticut town. Also, Will. God, I wish he'd been outside the borders when it happened.
You hate him so much. I don't like him, but I feel like you hate him. You honed in on him in a way that
he is trash.
So, okay, I was talking to Sade earlier today, and she doesn't really like him all that much either. And we were talking, and I was like, he's the worst kind of nice guy, because he's like the nice guy who thinks he's a nice guy, or like who knows he's a nice guy. And it's like, I don't know.
But he's not actually that nice of a guy.
I mean, he's not a jerk, I don't think.
He's not cool. He's manipulating Allie. It's super gross. He wasn't into her, and he was kind of a dick about it because she was into him, and now that he's into her and she wasn't that into him, it's her fault.
Yeah,
he's a dick.
That stuff
he's a full dick. Plus, he totally dicked over Kelly.
Yeah, I'm like also so frustrated that Allie is like within an inch of her life holding this stuff together by responsibility, and everyone everywhere is trying to thwart that.
It's awful. And every single time she makes a decision, he's like, you really should have talked about that with me first. And I'm like, bitch, you're not the mayor.
Well, and her logic was sound.
Yeah.
She was like, I can't get into a relationship with you, because she knows herself too well to know she would start making decisions for him. And it's like that was interesting, and because that's what I don't think either of us expected going into the show, was we're like, I bet this is going to be caked in nuance, but
right.
And that's the other thing, is her reasoning is so sound, because she's like, you can't run for mayor, and they're like, what the fuck, bitch? And she's like, the military can't run, like the people enforcing the rules can't also make the rules. Do you not see the problem here?
Yeah, and here's my problem is, I was like cool with the guard, but I think I was cool with
Grizz.
Luke and Grizz, because like Luke is very conflicted at this point. You can see it. Mm-hmm. He's doing a good job conveying that. But I think I liked Luke and Grizz, and Clark and Jason just kind of like got swept up in the wave with them. And now I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have liked the guard
but
so
Luke
much.
isn't conflicted enough, because he chose the wrong one and then lied to Helena, and so now Helena's going to turn on.
That is true. My only argument to keep Luke on the good side is that he literally couldn't do anything else. Like, Campbell would have killed him.
I don't know that I agree with that.
They would have absolutely kept him prisoner while they were enacting their coup, and then what? You can't let him go.
One thing that I had forgotten about entirely, and that I meant to say in our coverage, and I wasn't factoring into our conversation, is I forgot that, okay, so Campbell is effectively Manchurian candidated Harry. Yes. And I forgot he was doping him up.
Yes.
So when Harry was having his like depressive episode, I was like, what an interesting, topic to cover, is how would depression work in this type of, and I was like, oh, right, he's high. I just completely forgot.
I mean, I think it was half and half.
It was sure. And that's the thing where it's like a show like this that could so easily be infuriating. I cannot believe how rock solid so much of the reasoning and the methods are, where it's like, if this shit was on, and I like CW more than I like Freeform, but we've talked a lot this season how Siren was really testing my patience.
Sure.
And
that's also the only Freeform thing you watch. I still think you need to watch the Bold Type. Yeah. This is very good.
But I feel like if this were on Freeform, we would be leaning into all of the really shitty, obvious, destructive plots in a way that we're doing really destructive shit here, but it's ironclad from a plotting stance.
Yeah, I mean, I don't watch enough on Freeform also to argue you. That does feel more like a CW plotline, to be honest, because the 100 is trying my patience again.
Yeah, I don't need to be throwing any particular brand under the bus. That's not my point. My point is that I have seen lesser shows really lean into the like...
Yeah.
We basically have a group of men saying, we're stronger, therefore we're better, we're going to take over. But they're doing it in a way that, though it is frustrating as an audience member watching it, I'm not rolling my eyes at the show. Like, it doesn't feel sloppy or lazy or trite. And it's like...
Right, like, I'm rolling my eyes at the boys, not the show.
And just the way that they're making... Because this is such an extremely mature show, considering the presumed audience and the ages of the characters and stuff, because it's like the scene with Elle. I was shocked that she finally did ask for help. I was shocked at how we'll go with, well, she was being helped for a minute. And then when she ran away, I thought, oh, God, she's going to be living in a barn for a month or something. But then she ended up going to Allie. She did confess. Allie understood. Allie even had a plan. It's like Allie was like, we're going to arrest you. We cannot tell people why we're arresting you. You know what I mean? It's like, that could have been handled so much worse for the drama. You know what I mean? It's like, we could have had Allie find out, and Elle was like, wait, if you'd let me explain. And Allie was like, I've heard enough. You know what I mean? It's like, it could have been shit, but it wasn't.
Honestly, that feels more like a WB show.
Yeah.
Those are all distinct, different types of shows.
I've been resisting the urge to say this because it's extremely topical, and also it's passé at the moment, but this is giving me early Game of Thrones vibes.
Oh, sure.
Is it doing like that impeccable plotting in like season 1?
Yeah.
Where you're like,
well, even again, less topical, but still a little bit passé right now. Early Lost, where it really felt like we were going somewhere that was going to be important.
And it's also but it's like the pieces, like as the dominoes are falling, it's like what an essential domino. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, definitely.
And because Campbell, it's like he's such a like awful character, and I hate him. I want him to not win, and I want him to be punished. We're not quite in Cersei territory for me with him, but I am sort of like, I do find him a little bit delicious, where I'm like, man, you really are pulling this shit off. Like, and I had a similar thing with Lexi, where I was like, I couldn't wait. I could not wait for that bitch to get her comeuppance. And then they threatened her, and now suddenly I'm back to being mildly interested in her a little bit.
That last scene of her, where I was like, okay, all right, earn your keep, because she's trying my patience right now too. But I was like, I'll let it slide. If we get a season 2, I'd like to see where that goes.
That's what I'm saying, where it's like, to the Game of Thrones comparison, I mean, do you remember how much that we hated Melisandre for so long? And then somehow she ended the show one of my favorite presences on the show. Yeah. And so it's like, and I want to say this again, I said it earlier in our coverage, but I saw when I glanced at the reviews, it has pretty good reviews, but in the consensus, it was like, it said the show was like needing, like it totally lacking in levity. And I disagree. I actually find this show hilarious. Yeah. A lot of it is situational and or dark, certainly a dark humor.
Yeah, it's not like set up punchline. No, it's not like jokes, but it's funny.
But I've laughed out loud at several things that happened. I've been like, ha ha! It's so funny. And I think because, you know, the age that we're at and the age of the characters, where it's like, I've used this word several times already, but I'm finding myself being very proud of these fictional teenagers.
Me too. I agree with that. They're just doing so good for the most part.
I'm trying to think of what we need to talk about, because it's like...
Well, Becca had the baby.
She did. Fucking Ellie nutted up with Gordy's help. I wanted to say this about Gordy, because you were talking about him being a creeper and stuff, and...
I wanted to change my tune as well.
Well, it's not so much that I don't think that you need to change the tune, but I like when characters are given some shading. And frankly, if you laid it all bare, I think plenty of good people have kind of like...
Well, I think he was a little obsessed with Cassandra, and now that she's not, like, a part of it anymore, he's able to be more useful.
Well, and it's a little bit like that, and I mean, maybe I'll catch heat for this, I don't know, but it's a little bit like that scene in Big Little Lies where Adam Scott is looking at...
Yes, Catherine Newton.
Yeah. And it's such a crucial moment, because we have no reason to believe anything has happened or is going to happen.
Right.
But it's just those fleeting moments of humanity where you're suddenly aware of your animal nature. And it's like...
Because he catches himself in that moment, too.
And stops, Yeah. And she never notices. No one else notices. We just get this slight glimpse into him. And I think a lot of people went too far the other way. We're like, oh, he's such a creep. He's such a pervert, blah, blah, blah.
No.
I mean, it is absolutely a gray area.
No, it's for sure a gray area, but it's like, you're right, you know... There's no indication that he was going to do anything to her, that he had ever done anything to her.
The thing we have is him masturbating in her bed, which I didn't realize was her bed, but you said it was.
Gordy went further than Adam Scott.
Let me put it this way. Ilio went into Oliver's room and put his bathing suit on his head and in Call Me By Your Name.
Yeah, but they were both active participants in that.
Not at that point, but it was played for romance. And I'm not saying it's not creepy. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying it's like the weird things people do when they think they're in private. It's like, I think a lot of people have done questionable things when they think no one's watching. It's basically the point that I'm getting at. And so I feel like we got this glimpse into Gordy that we were really holding against him. And frankly, he could reveal himself to be a big creep at any moment. Who knows? But
for the moment, he is pulling his weight and he's helping. And he wants to open a medical practice with Kelly.
Well,
it's so cute.
And I mean, some people are smart enough. Some people are good because they're smart enough to be good. You know, it's like...
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, the baby that they managed to pull that off. And I really did end up loving Kelly. The fucking... When she brought Harry the bagel the second time and Campbell just started eating it.
I know.
That was almost up there with that Melissa from Pretty Little Liars the one time.
Where she just fucking stole
Took
Aria's
the ice cream.
froyo. Yeah. So good. I had forgotten about that moment.
I texted you and I was like, oh my God, Melissa. And you're like, did she just take the ice cream? And I was like, yes, you knew. But
so good.
And Kelly didn't even say anything. He just sat there. He's
a full creep. I can't. I really had a thought when he and Elle were laying in bed together at the end. I thought she was going to like stab him or something.
I don't know. The situation she has gotten herself into.
I think she's going to pull it out for Allie.
I do too.
Okay.
She looked her in the eyes and said, you will get what's coming to you, I promise.
I promise, yeah.
It was, I think she's going to nut up real hard when it comes down to it. I hope she goes Juno. I want her to beat him to death with her bare hands. Something
for sure. Douse him in antifreeze.
The way that she, like, goes into her, like, it's again, Game of Thrones, it's some Sansa in season 2, like...
Yeah.
Like, stuck with Joffrey shit. Like...
Absolutely.
Oh, God, it's really good. And they did hit, because you had reminded me that she was a bit of the outcast, but I forgot. And when she had that conversation with Helena, and then again, Allie and stuff, I was like, oh, she was like the quote-unquote trashy girl.
Yeah.
That sucks, how people handle those girls. It put her in a completely different light for me because the actress is pretty. Part of me was like, why are you degrading yourself, like this? And I was like, oh, if you have no self-esteem, like, yeah,
it does suck. Especially, I mean, she's so cute and she seems so nice and like good-hearted, and it just, but I loved that moment with Helena where Helena was like, that's a really shitty thing to say, and she like apologized. How do we make peace with what we've done in the past when that past doesn't exist anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a thing where it's like it happened, but it literally has no meaning anymore.
I think Helena's going to catch wise real quick.
I hope so.
I don't think she's an idiot. And she is a power player for me, for sure.
Yeah.
I really didn't understand why Grizz was so mad at Sam.
Yeah, he was, I mean... Grizz hasn't come out yet. Everybody seems to know that Sam is gay.
I was waiting because they were just kissing.
I think they were a little off to the side.
Yeah. Well, then I was waiting for the camera to pan back and one girl to be standing there being like, what the fuck is going on over here? Been over here on this day.
Yeah, I mean, I like do and don't get why he was so upset. He was so upset partially because the script needed him to be that upset so they could have that cute moment by the garden. But... God, I don't care. I just love it. They're so cute. I'm in love with their love.
I thought for sure he was going to sleep with that girl.
Oh, I didn't.
Oh, I did. I really did. I was like, that's where I was bracing myself for the annoying eye-rolling storytelling, and they didn't do it. And
no.
Oh my God. When they found the clearing, I was so happy. They went on an expedition.
Yeah.
To find farmland, and they did find some, complete with like 7 or 8 turkeys, and I was like, fucking catch those turkeys, dudes. Yeah. Catch them.
They need to catch the turkeys, but they also need to try to breed the turkeys.
Yeah. They do have tons of fish, So it was because that was the protein was my concern, and I mean, Bean even made the comment that she's a vegetarian. Obviously, people can survive on, plant life. But I was like, where, because we never did really get an answer about the dog or anything. Sade thought the dog was weird too. This one animal.
It is weird.
Yeah. So, there are, it appears, wild animals in this world. I hope they can find like boars or something. That would be
something. Yeah.
That would be great. But I also wanted to talk about the coin toss. What's going on with the coin toss? Do you think anything? I
don't know. Because I forgot there was one at the beginning.
It started with the play. They were doing a play where it was always heads for some reason in the play. And then Cassandra was doing it and it kept being tails. And finally she said it was heads. And she might have shown the coin. I was wondering if she lied.
No, she showed the coin. Harry could see it the whole time.
Because they did the coin toss again and it was tails again for the election or whatever. And you're right, it is too soon for an election.
Way too soon for an election. Way, way, way too soon. Also, I want to know I'm sure it must have just been Campbell, but I want to know what jumped up the guard's butt all of a sudden. That they were like, I'm not happy.
Yeah, they were doing so well, and they seemed to genuinely understand their purpose and the necessity for them, that it's really, it's a bummer. It's a real bummer. And I guess, with Grizz not being there, Luke couldn't hold down the fort, but...
Yeah.
I just, I don't remember why, but I just wrote fuck FUCCCCKKKKK Will. So I don't remember what he did that I got that mad at the end of episode 9.
Was it? No, he got in bed with her at the end of episode 8.
Yeah.
Which was also the same amount of C's in the fuck. I don't remember now what he did at the end. Was that not when he was like, you should have asked me about arresting Elle?
Probably. Ugh. I also have in episode 10, I have a note that says Becca is wigging out.
About the baby?
She was.
Yeah.
I did also wonder if the farmland, I was like, that farmland seemed a little bit deliberate. That clearing.
Yeah, I'm still, I like the Pied Piper aspect. I'm still feeling some kind of simulation as well. Some kind of, like an overlord type of thing. Like a Truman Show type of dome situation. I'm feeling a little bit of something like that too.
So I'm trying to think, do we really cover it all? I mean, we didn't say the thing, we didn't recap it, but it was that Campbell threw Harry and then Lexi and the guard took over and they came in and arrested Allie. Yeah. And the logic they were using is that her and Will were trying to rig the election and they arrested Elle and wouldn't explain why because they couldn't for obvious reasons. And I don't know at what point they could, it would be rough with the way the mob mentality works in general. And on this show, I feel like the general public wouldn't be so forgiving of her accidentally poisoning them in a way that Allie understood.
I just sort of feel like if you lay it out properly, where Campbell's been hitting her, so she tried to poison Campbell. Campbell decided to be weird and brought the pie to the potluck. Sorry you guys ate it, you're all fine.
She still sat by and let it happen. I don't know. I mean, I'm there, but I don't know if the, prom dress girl who has all the political opinions randomly in the peanut gallery.
No, you're right.
I don't know how reasonable she's going to be. And again, I mean, we had Helena for a hot minute talking some sense into everybody because you have to trick people into being smart. But I don't know. So we have Allie and Will arrested, and
they were throwing literal stones too at the end.
Yeah, and that's where Lexi was like, whoa, this blew out of control. Part of me wanted Lexi to win just so we could watch her crash and burn. But I don't know. I really, because Lexi and Harry know they're in over their heads.
Oh, for sure.
At this point, well, I mean, they flat threatened to kill Lexi if she didn't.
And I think Campbell can be a puppet master for a little while, but it's gonna get bad real fast.
Yeah, but I'm afraid once he gets power, I feel like he can keep it because he'll go warlord in a way that the rest of them are actually looking out for the good of everyone else. So it's like he only needs to get in the seat once to really fuck some shit up. You know what I mean? it's really dangerous, and especially because it's one thing to convince people to do it, and that's where I was like, shit, this is good, is that he was doing it by drugs. I mean, that's how people get into sex slavery and stuff, is you get them hooked on drugs first, and then you can make them do anything. So if he's going to get people hooked on drugs that he is apparently not doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If he gets the guard hooked on, like this could be crazy. Like, yeah, man. And it did end with the expedition coming back, and they were pissed at what was happening while they were gone. I don't know what sway, Grizz and Bean and Brown Hair Girl have, but
I like Brown Hair Girl.
Really? Ugh.
I don't like love her, but she's the one who broke up with Clark, but wanted to keep their private room.
Yeah, she's a real team player, that one.
Hey, as if you wouldn't do the same.
No, I'd be Sam, stuck with pretending to be the baby's father. We've already established where you are, Elle, okay? So.
Hey, whoa. I like to think I'm a prom dress girl, okay?
I mean, yeah, 6 of 1.
I'm kidding. I don't know who I would pick to be. Honestly, Cassandra. I'm dead. I'm already dead. Sorry.
Oh, man. So, do we have anything else that we have to say? I feel like we should, but it culminated. Oh, well, the last thing I was going to say, it culminated pretty quickly. But the last thing is that we did flash back to reality, proper reality, where one of their mothers was reading to...
It was Allie's mother.
Okay, she was reading to, like, young kids, and there's a plaque at the library, like, in memoriam for all of them, so...
She was also reading a very heavy-handed section of Peter Pan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Mrs. Darling saw them all in their beds again.
This is going fantasy in a way, because we were prepared for sci-fi, and I think we're going to get sci-fi before we get like fucking fairies, but
sure,
thematically we're going down a fairy tale route.
Yeah,
that is,
I agree,
extremely welcome on this end. So
yeah, definitely.
I'm thrilled. I actually have blind faith that this thing's going to take off, because like I said, it's summer. I think the teenagers, I think this is going to pull a Riverdale, like from 2 years ago. I think all the young people are going to watch it on Netflix.
Could be. I would hope so.
I have faith that this is going to be kind of a sleeper hit.
Yeah, I'd love to watch it again for sure. Or watch a second season, I mean.
I might even watch it again.
I might watch it again, but
we should try and get Will too, but it would depend. He's so busy right now, and also so busy doing stuff for us.
Agreed, yes.
That we'd have to be like, also watch the show so that you can do more stuff for us. So we'll see. I think you would like it, probably. Okay, I guess that's it. This ended up being a 2-hour episode, so this ended up being more than we intended, considering this was something we were just gonna put on to watch for shits.
Yeah, definitely.
But we had so much to say.
We really did. It ended up really surpassing my expectations.
So, okay, well, do you want to sign out, or?
Yeah, so as always, you can follow us on Twitter, @SoI'mWatching, Instagram, @SoI'mWatchingThisShow. We are also on Facebook and Tumblr, So I'm Watching This Show. Are you going to add Depeche Mode's Personal Jesus to the Spotify playlist?
Oh, I can. There was a couple of rad 90s songs in here.
There were some really rad 90s songs in here. So I'm Watching the show, The Music, on Spotify. And then, as always, just please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen.
Cool.
All right, bye.